Oh, snap. Oh, ha ha! Jay, it
Yo,
is you.
yo, it is
We,
us. We are
we,
here.
it is
Right.
I. We
Had to
are, we,
dust off the
woo.
rec room.
Oh, man. Yeah, dust the camera off a little bit. Boy, let me tell you something. And the funny thing is, it's not like we haven't been doing anything this entire time. We've been working behind the scenes, Jay, you got a couple credits on some other shows and some other networks, right?
Uh,
You
do I
co-producing?
help me out
Uh,
here?
you know what I'm saying? I know you're doing your thing, you co-producing. Shout out to our other gang from Let's Talk Sports, who will be tuning in. Big ups to our guys, Tanner, Bodkins, Sam, Bobby, everybody who likes to tune in from time to time. We appreciate you. But we're gonna be doing our thing. We're gonna be doing the Rec Room thing today and seeing how that goes. We got a great show. I think this is awesome. We got a guy coming in, really knowledgeable. We're gonna be talking something right up your alley, right, Jay?
A little something, man. We've kind of strayed away from baseball coverage, as of late. But this I would consider this a must see. This is somebody who we definitely, I've been watching for a while, and like I said before, man, he's a proponent of baseball, and not only just baseball, just in general, but especially to our community, African American community. Um, so many kids, they think football, basketball, that's where the money is at. Eh, I beg to differ. I'm sure he probably say the same. Of course, unless you're one of the big boys, you know what I mean? Getting the big bread, getting the big contracts. But when it comes to baseball, differentiating between, I guess, the four major sports, football, basketball, baseball. I guess you could throw hockey in there. Um,
Yeah.
big money, big money in baseball, and just as can I say, like in urban city areas, it is not promoted as much. So definitely interested in just hearing from his perspective, about the game, and how he sees the game, and his interaction with the game. So
Well,
it's gonna
look,
be
bro,
dope.
I think you said a mouthful. I feel like we got enough people already looking. We might as well hit the button.
This is this is this is this is this is Rec Room Sports. Olympians carrying the torch, going where they don't go. We ain't lost. From the optics to the topics, we got this with synopsis. Think outside the boxes like Jay on the mic or your boy K Witt. Joe is my coach, T Sweat on the mix. All sports, even if you catch fish like Nate Diaz catches fist. You need to catch this episode, it's a can't miss. We go live and you should subscribe and X's and O's. We made our plan, yo, 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 yo.
Oh, yeah. You don't know how good it feels to hear that, bro. Like, y'all got an intro? Yes. We got a song and all, dog. And it's crazy, man. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We back again. The two bald-headed guys from the Berg. I tell you what, it's your boy K Witt, man. You know what time it is, man. It's the Rec Room Sports Show. We're coming back live right now. It's summertime. We're getting closer and closer to that time of the year where there's no football, there's no basketball, but if you know what we know, there's definitely sports going on, and we go where they don't go. So we're talking MLB today, and I'm excited, bro. Jay, what's good with you?
Another day under the sun. Fortunately, slightly unfortunately, out here in the southeast, it is what it is. It is what
Yeah,
it
man.
is.
It's definitely another day under the sun. I'm excited, man. So let's go ahead and get right into it, folks, man. Y'all know me, man. It's your boy K Rich Mama's #1 draft pick. And we are eating more leafy greens in our diet. I got a new cabbage recipe, Jay. New cabbage recipe is fire. Okay. Put a little bit of that Hillshire Farm sausage in there. Three different types of bell peppers, ladies and gentlemen. The green ones, the red ones, and the yellow ones, all in one pot. Sweat it down. You almost don't need a side. It's just all cabbage. It's very healthy. I think I'm going to start doing that a little bit more in my diet to help me out. And of course, we got my boy Jay on the MIC. Jay, what's going on with you, bro?
Hey man, happy to be here. Just happy to be here.
Yes, I feel that coming to America. I am so happy to be here. Yes, that's how I feel right now. But man, Jay, as we have been gone but not forgotten, I like to tell everybody welcome back to Rec Room Sports. All of our family from Let's Talk Sports, we appreciate you. Everybody on all streaming platforms, whether it be Instagram, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Twitter. Thanks for rocking with us in the times we've been other places, and we really appreciate you coming back and being with us today. But we're gonna take it. We're gonna take it there, right, Jay? We taking it there?
Hmm?
Okay. So of course, you know, just to warm up, Jay, we've been doing a lot lately, man. The basketball season, incredible, wild,
Yes. Mhm.
ended with the Celtics winning the championship. Everybody knows how I feel about the Celtics. If you don't know, Celtics is my favorite team. We just got finished with the draft and coverage of that as well. Shout out to Bobby. Shout out to Alan Paralys as well. And then we in that space where hockey also concluded. Shout out to the winners of the Stanley Cup. Once again, sorry for the Oilers, but shout out to the Florida Panthers. Uh,
Great celebration.
awesome celebration. Stanley's Cup has been into the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, all kinds of oceans. But now we're in that space where summer is happening and America's pastime comes to fruition. The lights are bright, the fields are open, and we're playing baseball, Jay. I think that's one of the dopest parts. And there's been some big news in the world of baseball lately, and we've got somebody on the show with us today to help us bring the information to the people. And I'm excited. So, Jay, tell them who we got, and give us some information on how you found them, man.
Honestly, man, you know me. I'm just on IG, just following anything that it's all about sports. I definitely I try to you know spread myself around as far as each sport, each major sport. I try to pretty much follow people who kind of do what we do. Even no matter however magnitude starting out. However, a lot of people out here with like some great content, and I actually found Cheats, baseball mixtape. Um, a lot of information that I was getting from him. Very very formative as far as Negro leagues, as far as baseball today, as far as he's all over the place. When I'm looking, he's pretty much everywhere. So it's just like wow, this is like some James Bond, you know, like he's at that level,
He's the
where
man
he's
of
he's pretty
mystery
much
for
everywhere.
baseball.
Yeah, so um again, man, Chiefs, I've been watching him for I would say following him for probably well, maybe a year or so. Um, but again, like so much information I get from him. Um, he follows young prospects to the T. I see where he basically he follows guys. He actually interviews players. Maybe it's minor leagues, college. Everywhere. And he actually revisits a lot of these guys get called up. A lot of these guys make it to the big show, like what we the show, like they refer to it. Um, and he basically revisits, you know, if he actually interviewed that person. He actually, you know, played the same interview, you know, just trying to catch up on, you know, who the player is, for people who don't know.
Oh, shout out to
That's it.
DJ SD. Thanks for tuning in, SD. Make sure you share it out there on Facebook. We don't know why the screen's big, but
I have no idea.
But yeah, keep watching though. Thanks, we appreciate that, bro.
But
shout out to Kato, man.
Shout out Kato.
Shout
out to Kato.
Real
Definitely shout out to Kato, man. Gave me some strong words of encouragement one day. Never look back.
Yeah, man.
Never look back.
Well, listen, Jay. I think we got to bring the man to the center stage. As you have given out the information, we might as well get him. So, as you heard from Black Baseball Mixtape, we got our guy Cheats on the show today. Cheats, what's going on, bro?
What's good, fellas? How are y'all doing? It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk to both of y'all, talk some baseball and some sports and some music. Because that intro, you got to give me look. I gotta get put on some game on the intro. So that was fire. I really appreciate that. I think I seen one of y'all is some Little Brother fans, some Knife Wonder fans. I saw one of y'all with a picture of my man Knife. So.
Oh man, wow. Well, it's funny because one of us is the producer. I bet you can't guess which one.
Oh, I don't know. I got. Maybe I'll find out. Maybe I'll be able to guess by the end of the show.
We'll get it to you, man. But yeah, okay. I appreciate you checking us out, boy. So welcome to the show, Cheats of Black Baseball Mixtape. Once again, everybody, don't forget to like, share, subscribe while the interview's going on. Jump into the comment section. We got questions. You got questions. We will answer them as best as we can. So, Cheats, what we normally do is we have an icebreaker that we do with some of the gang when they come on, and it's
all right.
It's not nothing too crazy, but let's see what's going on. So, of course, first of all, how long have you been a content creator, bro? How long have you been doing your Black Baseball Mixtape?
Well, it was funny that Jay said he's been following for about a year. So this is coming up. So this week, a little bit later this week, I'll go to Dallas and Arlington for the All-Star game, All-Star week. That was my last year. It was in Seattle. That was my very first trip. That I ever took for the Black Baseball Mixtape was All-Star game last year.
Wow.
So the site, the podcast and the social media content for Black Baseball Mixtape probably started, if it was All-Star, maybe a year before that. I think I got my first invite to attend anything baseball related at all. The All-Star game before Seattle was in Los Angeles. And I remember I got an email from the Players Alliance, who I do a lot of work with. And they were like, are you going to be in LA for the All-Star game? And at the time, I live in Virginia, and I was just doing what we're doing right now. I was just talking to folks virtually online. And so I was like, yo, is this real? I thought I was being pranked, but they had sent me an invite to go to like a reception at the All-Star game in LA. And I was like, man, I can't get to LA 2 years ago. It came back around. I got my first trip with Seattle. And then later this week, I'll be going out to my second All-Star game in life. My second All-Star game week is coming up this week. So
drop a bomb for the All-Star game.
So about 2 years now. This is the second full season of Black Baseball Mixtape in regards to baseball seasons. This is the second full season. And then prior to that, believe it or not, we did a lot of podcasting and radio stuff around hip hop. I started as a hip hop writer in Richmond, Virginia. And we started the first kind of real hip hop podcast in Richmond, Virginia. This was about a decade ago. Got on the radio, did a radio show for like hip hop and hip hop culture. And then when the pandemic started, we shut that down, and we never really came back from that space. And I started BBM after that.
Bro, that's crazy. So you are multifaceted. So we might have we do go where they don't go. That's our motto. So we might have to talk a little hip hop because there
We
is
can
some.
do it. I don't get us in trouble now. I will tell you this.
It's
You
some
know,
relevance. It's some relevance in sports and hip hop right now. We can
you
talk
can
about.
ask people anything they want. You start getting in the top fives. That's the only time I've
Ooh.
ever had a player call me back and say we can't run a segment on the podcast is because I had a prominent baseball player give me his top five. He called me back after the interview was over and said we can't run it because he had too many friends.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I can't tell you who it is. I can't tell you who
I
it is.
was just about.
Can't tell you who it is.
Wow.
Very prominent though. Very prominent.
Off camera.
Very prominent in culture. Very prominent in culture. Probably the most prominent baseball player in culture there is. Called me back and said we can't do it. I got too many people.
Okay. So yeah, I like how you fed us with that one. Okay, so we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it going. Okay. So of course you mentioned that you were in Virginia. Are you a native of the DMV?
No, Richmond, Virginia. Richmond, Virginia's home.
Awesome.
So if you live here, you know Richmond is not DMV. DMV is DC, Maryland, Virginia, but it's Northern Virginia. The Virginia is really close to DC area is where they call the DMV area, and so Richmond, Virginia, Central Virginia, and then most people know Hampton Roads, especially from sports. Mike Vick, Allen Iverson, Ronald, all that 757. That's a whole different part of Virginia, where Missy and Timberland and Clips and all of them is from Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area. So when they say 757, that's what most people know when they think of, that level of culture. And then Richmond's different. And then DMV is a little bit more up north.
Hey, shout out to Jeremiah Clark. Thank you, Jeremiah, for tuning in. First time listener here. Huge baseball fan. This is a show for you. You tuned in at the right time. I can't lie to you, my brother. Thank you. Wow, and then of course, not only are you a baseball savant, but you're also geographically knowledgeable. Because I had no idea, so I didn't mean to.
Yeah, now when they say DMV, it's you got to be be real careful sometimes, especially when between the 804 and the 757 and a lot of that 757. They there's a reason why they stake claim to all that. Like Sweet Pea Whitaker is 757. Like I said, all the Vicks, Michael Vick, Marcus Vick, Allen Iverson, Ronald Carr, all that's Hampton Roads. So that's about 2 hours, hour and 45 minutes away going east.
Yeah, my grandfather and grandmother retired and lived in Bad News. So
yeah. It's different. Yeah, it's something in the water down there for real.
There's something in the water out there. Okay, so then of course, we're talking baseball. We got you here. We got to ask you the tough questions.
Yeah.
Right. So, which team is currently your favorite team?
Oh, the Orioles. I'm a Baltimore Orioles guy. Not a question about it. I grew up an Orioles fan. Like where I lived in Virginia, that's all we got. We got our regional team was the Orioles. Now, when the Nats moved from the Montreal to DC, it was easy for me because I could say, oh, the Nats is my National League team and the Orioles are American League team. But I mean, tried and true, I'm an Orioles guy from first time going to the stadiums, and Camden Yards is my favorite ballpark, and they just it's something about that warehouse out there in Camden Yards. It's beautiful. If you've ever been out there, probably I think it's the best baseball ballpark in the country, Camden Yards.
Shout out to you. Shout out to Camden Yards and the Baltimore Orioles. I know they're doing really well this season. All right, little bit of a curveball here, right?
Okay.
So, what is your favorite summer activity? Because it's hot as I don't know what right now.
It's a low hanging fruit though. So because it's gonna be baseball. It's a low hanging fruit. I got a 9-year-old. My 9-year-old plays Little League. He plays at the same Little League that I played at growing up. I coach him out there. We have a AA team here in Richmond called the Richmond Flying Squirrels. They're the San Francisco Giants AA franchise. We're always there. Like we're always at the stadium. So yeah, man, the best summer activity, and it's one. My wife's not a big sports fan in general. She's just not a big sports fan, but she likes live events. Mm-hmm. So baseball is like the live event she can go to because she's outside. There's a lot of great food. If you go to a Major League Baseball stadium, she can go, or a minor league baseball stadium. There's entertainment, there's food. She can, you know, she sits outside and watches the game. She tolerates that even more than say if we go to NBA games up in DC. Well, you know, I'm a big Knicks fan, so when the Knicks come in town, we'll go to watch them play in DC, and that's fun. But it's not a baseball game. It's not like being outside for a baseball game. So, but I'm of the age now, Jay. I saw you and you started the show. I'm of the age now where I got to bring the sweat towel everywhere I go to. I'm of that age. So when you get there's a couple things that is a rite of passage when you get to a certain place. I'm old enough now where I can score baseball games and nobody says nothing to me. So you see the people in the game, the little scorecards, that's me. And I got the sweat towel everywhere I go now. So that's where I'm in life.
That's dope. That's dope. So shout out to everybody of age who magically, magically you touch your pocket
right.
and there's a towel. And
right. You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it in high school or college. You're not gonna do it. But you get to a certain age and you bring you're smart now. You bring the rag. And look, the rag works for football season too. People gotta understand those early football games. Jeez.
Definitely.
Those college football games. Woo.
We are all in the same boat. I was bringing in the groceries the other day, and I grabbed a case of water, and I was wondering what is going on with my body. So next, right? It's if summertime activities.
Yeah.
We mentioned the towel. So if you could pick a favorite fitted cap, which cap would you pick?
Okay, so now that's a problem. Y'all don't know this about me, but I have a problem. Like I have a legitimate fitted hat problem. So, and it's gotten worse. Last 4 years since the pandemic, because I was a sneaker guy, and sneakers. The culture changed around sneakers. We'll talk about that later. But the culture changed around sneakers, where sneakers, there's not a lot of chase. There's not a lot of exclusivity in sneakers anymore. It's a whole different situation. But when it comes to fitted hats, where I think the pandemic really stepped in, sneakers kind of fell off a bit. I think fitted hats came in, side patches came in, and so it is. I've got my whole sneaker budget plus is now hats, and it's tough. But I will answer by saying my favorite hats, believe it or not, are hats that I have not got yet. But I was able to design. So we were able to design 4 hats, two Negro League hats, a Richmond Flying Squirrels hat, and a Norfolk Tides hat. All of them will be coming out later this year. 3 of them will be coming out on Pro Image, and then one of them will be coming out. It's kind of like it was kind of a pre-order secret buy type thing. And they'll all be hitting the market, I want to say before the end of the year. So those will be my favorite hats. So 2 Negro League hats, Richmond Flying Squirrels hat, and the Norfolk Tides hat that I got the honor of designing those hats. So I'm gonna say those are my favorites right now, even though I don't have them yet.
Man, drop a bomb for designing, man. Oh my God. Okay, so Jay, what size you wear again? What size? Like 7.5, 7 3/8. I'm somewhere up there.
It's different. It's different. It's not designing and doing things like that is it's gotten at one point it was a little bit easier. It's gotten a little bit harder now, but in regards to what MLB will let you do with the shops, New Era, what New Era will let you do. I'm a 5950 guy, so it has to be that. And so it's gotten a lot more restrictive over the last year because I think MLB and New Era realized that they had a bunch. It's like, what happened is a little bit off subject, but what happened was, imagine if they let Nike or Adidas or Reebok, they just let everybody design everything. And it would not like a Nike ID, but like literally you could design stuff and put it in stores with the Nike logo on it. That's kind of what happened to hats in New Era. Because if you notice, a lot of designers was like, yo, we going crazy with these hats and the side patches and all that. They put it into that earlier this year, but I got about 4 of them off.
Wow. Okay. So we got some designs that we need to check out when it comes to you coming out later on, and we will
Keep it
see about
locked. You'll
these.
see him. You'll see him
Yeah.
on some prominent. You'll see him on some prominent people too. That's the thing. You'll see him on some real baseball athletes.
Okay. So we'll definitely keep our eyes
Yeah.
open for that one. Now here's another curveball for you since we talk about fitted caps.
Yeah.
So if you got a chance to hear the intro, Jay and I often talk about food and alcoholic beverages. If you could pick a pairing right now
Oh.
of a dinner that you could purchase and an alcohol you would pair it with. And we're all grown. So this show is for everybody. 18 and above, 21 and older. Don't drink and drive. Don't follow his instructions to go buy these food and to lick at the same time.
No, it's a good question. I am not a big drinker, but it is a good question. I'm a big eater.
Food. Yes.
So I'm definitely going with some level of surf and turf, some level of like a lobster and steak type combo on the same plate. I'm with you. Make sure you get some greens, maybe get some asparagus on there. I'm a big like pasta dude as well. Like if they have some, lobster mac or something like that, but we got to be strong in there. But the question is, what do you pair it with? I'm not a big drinker. My wife is a big wine drinker. She's a big wine drinker. So I would have to figure out something, to stay professional. I had to figure out something wine related, some type of red that would go with the surf and turf. I think my wife's favorite is there's a lot of wineries in Virginia. There's one in the Charlottesville area out by UVA called King Family Wineries. If you're ever in Virginia, look it up. It's beautiful. And they have like what's called a crozet. It's like a little like a reddish, light reddish wine. So I'll probably pair something with that. But it's got to be some surf and turf in there these days.
Man, drop a bomb for the wine connoisseur that you are. So
no, I'm not. I don't drink it. I don't drink it very much. And if I do get a choice, it's probably going to be some type of. Look, my wife makes fun of me because I drink cheap stuff. My lesson I learned early in life was if you enjoy cheap stuff, you don't even have to go to the expensive. Because again, you can't go back. So if you go with expensive stuff, you can't go back because the cheap stuff doesn't taste as good. If you enjoy the cheap stuff, you can always go up.
Right. There you go.
So I've never been one of those guys where it's like, oh, it's got to be the finest, type thing. Nah, I'm gonna stay cheap.
Listen, bro, there's nothing wrong with a little bottle of Sutter Homes or Barefoot or listen, we from a place where that's all you can get after 10 o'clock.
I'm
7 o'clock, you better go get that. Shoot.
I'm gonna stay low, but probably a beer, some type of IPA beer type thing. But
I like it. Last but not least, for the icebreaker, before we get into the tough questions, bro.
Oh yeah.
Tell us one thing interesting about you that you just out there. What one more thing?
All right. I mean, I don't know if it's interesting, but I'll tell.
Because you mentioned hats and you mentioned shoes. Is there anything else that you're into?
Oh, a bunch of stuff, man. I'm all over the place. But this is one I'll tell you guys because I always it may be a story for later, but I'll tell you guys now because it really did jumpstart a lot of what happened with BBM. So I think it had to be January 1 of 23. I think it might have had to be 2023. It feels like a long time ago, but maybe it wasn't that long ago. So a little bit over a year and a half ago, I made a handwritten list of guests I wanted to interview on the Black Baseball Mixtape. January 1, 2023, I posted that handwritten list on Instagram and tagged all of those people, as many as I could tag, on that post. I would say that alone, immediately after that, doing such, I got probably my first 5 interviews of my dream interview list. And I tell people that because people, I think, sometimes will have those ideas and never put them out there. But I put it out there. I probably got the first 5 within a week, 2 weeks. And I think if I looked at the list the other day, and I'm probably at 75% of that whole list. And that list had crazy names on it. I think I got, yeah, but I mean, crazy. It had crazy names on it about people I wanted to interview. So yeah, so that'll be an interesting thing. That's one of the things that I try to tell people that all the time. Like, don't put it out there. If you want something done, you got to put it out there in the world.
Yo, I definitely dig that, man. If you want something, you got to put it out there in the world, and we want to get into the tough questions. That was dope. Hey, that was a day. That was a great icebreaker, though, man.
Easy enough.
We appreciate the honesty there. And of course, man, my guy Jay is leading the way with the questions as we get into baseball and the Black Baseball Mixtape.
So I guess I would ask, since you was speaking on those interviews, which would be your favorite interview? Your favorite person that you actually interviewed out of that list? Who would be your favorite?
All right, so that's a trick question because I've interviewed a lot of my heroes now already. In a year and a half, 2 years, I've interviewed a lot of them. And so I think favorite interview and like kind of most like shocking interview are two different things. So the person that I never thought I'd get a chance to even be in a room with, let alone get a microphone in front of his face and get him to answer questions, my questions, is Derek Jeter. So I got Jeter last December for like 4 minutes. It might have been like 3 questions, but I didn't care because I got Jeter. Like it was Jeter's Jeter talked to me. It happened.
That's enough.
But that wasn't my favorite. I think I would say my favorite is probably one of my first 2 interviews. Lonnie Murray. Lonnie Murray is an agent. She was I want to say, the first Black woman certified player agent from the MLBPA. Like, she is a true legend of people to interview. And I don't know exactly how she came on my radar. It was like a Forbes article or something about Lonnie Murray and her position in baseball. And I reached out to her. She was gracious enough to grant me an interview before it was even called the Black Baseball Mixtape. This was called the interview was my previous show, and I wind up talking to her. I want to say for over an hour about all kinds of things that agents go through and what she was going through in her career, and she was telling me her story. And she is just an icon and a wonderful, wonderful person. And Lonnie Murray's one of my favorites, and it was one of my first. Another guy that's now all over MLB TV, all over ESPN, is a guy named Xavier Shrugs, and X is what they call him. X is just killing it. And and he was probably, if not my first interview, he was my second. If one of them, Lonnie and X, were back to back almost, and they were both so gracious with their time. They were so willing to answer questions, willing to talk about baseball, willing to talk about being Black in baseball. Lonnie willing to talk about being a Black woman in baseball. And it was so encouraging to have those early conversations where I think if those two had gone badly, it would have stopped. I would have stopped because it wasn't even the mixtape then. It was something else. But those conversations went so well that I wanted to keep doing them. And then we found out, there was a niche there. There was something that people wanted to see. And so those are my 2 favorite: Jeter, Edwin Jackson, CC Sabathia, Curtis Granderson. Those are some of my guys too. The Edwin Jackson interview I might have played twice just because I thought it was that good. Like Edwin Jackson's an amazing person to talk to. He's an amazing person. He's an amazing person to talk to. CC Sabathia, Curtis Granderson, great people to talk to. So, I've got so many. Not to mention, we talked to just about everybody we can with a lot more people to talk to. But those are Bob Kendrick. Negro League Museum president. Amazing man to talk to. They're just great. I hope that answers it, but there's just so many. And those are established folks. Like the young guys, talking to the young guys, I think, Jay, you mentioned it. I talk to more young guys than I talk to major league players. And talking to the young guys, especially the ones that are grinding in the minors right now, they're in high A, double A. Some of them might be in triple A. Woo, you talk about some they going through some things. So that's those are always fun interviews. And then, like you said, on the back end, we've had 4 major league debuts this season. 4. So when you talk about Trey Lipscomb, James Wood, both with the Nationals, Justin Henry Malloy with the Tigers, and Simon Bevins with the Giants, all 4 of them were on my show in the minors. They all debuted this year. So like now you go to games and it's different. Like you know folks. Like you really feel like you know folks.
Right. Also, you're talking about that you actually are a fan of the Orioles, which Whit here is a Yankees fan. And
don't worry, my best friend's a Yankee fan. It's all good.
Yeah, that's usually how it works out.
Yeah.
But, the thing is, like going into this season, and I found it very interesting that you are an Orioles fan, because I would say for the last 2 maybe 3 seasons, I was like, it's gonna be their year soon. Like with their farm system, and of course Gunner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, with Gunner, like something's gonna come about. Like they gotta they got the guy, they got their guy, and it's gonna get to a point where they're gonna ascend, and the Yankees are in trouble. I've been waiting for that, like I said last year, because I'm, being a Braves fan.
Yeah.
We won the most recent championship between the two, as far as the Yankees and Braves.
Yeah.
So like, growing up, like, were you always an Orioles fan? Did you have like a player that you actually looked up to? Or?
Yeah, no, I was always an Orioles fan. Growing up, I was always an Orioles fan. But I could, here's the thing. I live in Virginia. So you had to appreciate the 90s Braves. You had to appreciate those guys. I'm talking about Dave Justice, Ron Gant, Terry Pendleton, Deion Sanders, right? You had, that might have been, we were doing a poll. We were doing a poll on the Instagram on a while back, and we had asked, what was the last team that really captured Black America in baseball? What was the last team that really did it? Now, granted, there were some 90s, late 90s, 2000 Yankee teams that people were talking about, but that Braves team, that whole, people, when you look at a map of where Major League Baseball is, if you looked at a map of the country, you looked at where all the teams are, the Braves got the entire South. Like the entire, until you took to Texas and Louisiana, you know what I mean? The Braves got all of that. And they had TBS. And then you had, like I said, Ron Gant. You had Dave Justice. You had Terry Pendleton. You had Otis Nixon. You had Deion Sanders. You have Fred McGriff. You have black players that was in the heart of Atlanta. Now, and again, Atlanta in the 90s isn't Atlanta today. If you had that team today, woo, you talk about black people coming to the game. If you had that team today, people would be lying. They'd be like, I've been a Braves fan since day one. You don't know about my, it would be crazy if they had that team today. And then and not to mention Glavine, Smoltz, Avery, right? All of those guys. But so I I've always been an Orioles fan. I appreciated all the Yankees. Bernie Williams, I loved Bernie Williams. I love Derek Jeter, right? There are folks that you just have to. Even today, I root for Aaron Judge. How can you not root for Aaron Judge? Dude's got
Did we say we love Derek Jeter? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I've always you got to. But I love those Brave teams too. It's a tragedy, right? It's a real tragedy that those Brave teams only got one championship, right? I'm probably like everybody else in the world thinking Andrew Jones is black. Andrew Jones was black until 2 years ago when I heard him talk. No, nobody told me Andrew Jones was Caribbean. Nobody told me that. I grew up thinking they had a black center fielder that was killing it.
Hey, very special
But yeah,
talent, man.
yeah, man. So I really love like good baseball. Like it's right now, even today, it's hard. How can you not look at that Dodgers lineup, especially without Mookie in the lineup, right? But how can you not look at Mookie, Shohei, and Freddie Freeman and stop when they're playing and be like, yo, I got to at least see this, you know? So, yeah, man, I've always been an Orioles fan. Eddie Murray was my guy. And then later in life, Orioles had a lot of low-key black players. See, people don't realize Orioles had low-key like a Mike Devereaux, if you remember that name, or a
Oh,
Jeffrey
yes.
Hammonds. Like Orioles had a lot. Eric Davis was an Oriole for a while. Like
Sure was.
Eric
Yep.
Davis had a whole lot of low-key black, they had a lot of low-key swag. And so, I appreciated the Orioles, man.
Yeah, it's sort of.
He wasn't Black American, but Armando Benitez. Remember that name?
Oh wow, yeah,
Remember that?
yeah.
When Jeter hit the Jeffrey Mayer home run, the home run that the kid caught over the fence in '96.
Oh man,
Armando Benitez ran all the way from the pitcher's mound to right field just to yell at the umpire, in Spanish. Nobody knew he didn't know what he was saying.
Oh no.
It was great.
That was a volatile moment. What
a time, man! What a time to be alive.
Yes. And you were speaking about the Negro Leagues, and for some people, or should I say, I'm gonna go into like parents. When it comes to like picking a sport for a kid, or should I say like putting the ball in their hand, like baseball is not necessarily sometimes it's a first choice and they kind of like get them into sports and then they run away from it.
Yeah.
Or they don't let them, I guess, bud into basically grow with the sport. They pretty much move them on to like basketball or football.
Yeah.
Most of the time, like the kids, they're intrigued by what they see every day, what they see on TV. With the glitz and the glamour of that they put out certain sports. You see basketball players, coming in the tunnel with their swag, and you see the football players with their cleats. There's so many attractive things that attract these kids. But for parents out there, what would you say to parents as far as like this that's looking for their kid to play a sport, soccer or whatever the sport may be? Like, what would you say about baseball when it comes to parents trying to find, the kids, trying to get their kids active and playing sports?
I mean, it's tough. I'm a parent. My kid plays baseball, but it's tough. And I'll tell you why. There's a bunch of factors that make it makes baseball the way it is now. And some of it has absolutely nothing to do with the kid's desire to play. Baseball, one, is a hard game. Facts. Baseball is hard. Ask anybody that's played multiple sports and then tell them, about trying to hit a curveball now, and it's even harder, trying to hit 90-mile-an-hour sliders followed by 70-mile-an-hour change. Baseball is hard. Not saying that our people don't do hard things. Our people do hard things. But I think there's a level of success that breeds, like, if you're struggling at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and you're always struggling, and it's not the sport that everybody now is picking up and going to. So it's like sometimes you might not have the handles that you need as a point guard, but everybody going to the park. What you going to do? You going to go to the park.
Go to the park. Yeah.
Ain't nobody going like to the Sandlight baseball game. You know what I mean? So it is hard. So if you already don't show that talent super early on, a lot of parents, see, a lot of people think it's the kids. A lot of the parents be looking at it and be like, they don't want to see their kid not be good. You know what I'm saying? So they might be the guy. I had a parent take a kid off the field in the game. Talking about, as a black kid, black parent, took him off the field in the game, talking about he ain't showing out. And I'm like, yo, we in the middle of the game. So there's some of that. I do think that the game is expensive. It is moving towards, and it's getting more expensive. It's not getting cheaper. So I just had to shell out, used every Christmas gift card I had, and I like retail. I had to buy a 9-year-old a $200 bat. You know what I mean? Gift cards made it cheaper, but that's not The gloves are over $100. You know what I mean? And then it's not an environment for our kids that, like, if you're good in basketball or even good in football, there is going to be a couple things that happen. There's going to be some teams, travel teams or AAU teams or whatever, that somebody's going to recognize that talent and say, you coming with us. Oh, you don't got sneakers? I don't care. You coming with us. You can't afford to play? I don't care. You're coming with us. And that happens a lot in football in the South, happens a lot in baseball, especially in basketball in Virginia. There's not enough of us in the game at that level, at that youth travel level, to say, you got raw talent, you coming with us. You ain't got cleats, you coming with us. You can't afford a hotel stay, you coming with. It's not enough of that. So that makes all of that level of development different too. So then what happens? You get players that show a lot of talent, right? And then, they might get put on a travel team. They might be the only one on that team. There might be two of y'all on that team. If they're not playing, people are looking over the shoulder and saying, oh, he's not playing because he looks like us. He's not, you know what I mean? There's a whole lot of things that come into the culture of this travel baseball, little league, you know what I mean? And that's in baseball now, and that's how you get seen. It's less about high school. There's no more Legion ball like it used to be Legion ball when I was growing up. It really is like you get on this showcase travel circuit, or you gonna be out. And so there's a lot of things that isn't as conducive for our players. Now and again, the good part about some of this is I think a lot of people now are starting to realize that, starting to call it out, trying to make the game more affordable in places that aren't playing it. But we've had 20 years of baseball going away from us, right? Like baseball, they like the whatever powers that be, in the way that the game went, they've allowed baseball to go away from black culture and black people in a way over the last 20, 25 years, in a way that other sports, especially if you're looking at football and basketball, especially in basketball, I think basketball is a very amazing case study because I think all of us are old enough to realize basketball really didn't want like an Iverson. They really didn't want that Vince Carter, Jermaine O'Neal wave. They implemented dress codes. They did all kinds of things. They accepted culture in basketball, kicking and screaming. And then when they realized, oh, this is where the culture is, this is where the money is, this is how we going to globally take over the world, they accepted it. Right? Baseball never had a situation where there was enough of us to force them to accept our culture in the game until like now. You're starting to see some of that now. You're starting to see Jazz Chisholms now, right? You're starting to see Ronald Acuña's now. But for 20, 25 years, it went away from that, and everybody was cool with it. But like I said, baseball and basketball and football had to accept a lot of the things that I think if you left it to them, they wouldn't have had, Young Dolph and Charlotte at NBA All-Star Weekend. Like they did. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of the stuff that we did around that the NBA ultimately took credit for. But it's an interesting dynamic. But I hope that answers some of your question. But I think the misconception is that black kids don't play. Black kids do play. Black kids play baseball young. And then there's, it gets expensive. It gets hard. Culturally, a lot of, when you're making a decision between football, basketball, track, boxing, whatever, baseball usually is the last one accepted because you're going away from a lot of your friends. And then they're like, hey, why ain't you with us? Like, we all over here playing. You over there playing baseball with people that don't look like us. You know what I mean? So I do think there's a lot. The people that make it now, a lot of them, unless you live in LA or Atlanta or Chicago where there's some black baseball hubs, if you gonna be isolated. It's gonna feel isolated, and a lot of people don't choose that path.
Yeah, real quick, I want to jump in and just say, make sure everybody likes, shares, and subscribe. Of course, it's the boys from the Rec Room. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm loving how this conversation is going. Shout out to the comment section. Jeremiah Clark has had 2 good comments. I'm going to throw it on this one real quick. Another huge component of course, he's talking about fatherless households.
Yeah, I'm
That's
glad. I'm glad he brought that up. I've been on record, and I will continue to be on record saying there's way more to that story than this. I think that the fatherless household is. I think the argument, and I'm not, it's not a diss on Jeremiah. I understand I know what he's saying. I think some of that argument is intellectually lazy. I think we need to dig deeper than that because there are fatherless households in basketball. There are fatherless households in football. There are fatherless households. Like, the divorce rate in America is above 50% now. So there are fatherless households everywhere. What is not everywhere is that men, no matter what they look like, but men, and we'll call it a spade, black men, if you rolled out a basketball at a park, there are 4, 5, 6, 7 black men sitting on the sideline saying, I know this game. I know how to teach the kids how to play this game. If you rolled them out on a football field, it don't have to be your father. It could be your uncle. It could be your cousin. It's an adult male role model that says, I know how to play football. I can take the quarterbacks. I can take the offensive linemen and so forth. Again, under that same scenario in baseball, there are going to be some black men on the sideline, a lot of them, saying, I can't teach my kid how to hit this curveball. I've never hit this curveball. So it's not necessarily the fact that, like, it's deeper than just who's in the home. It's who can actually teach the kids on the field how to develop and be better baseball players. There are less of us doing that than anything else, and there's more of us doing that in basketball, basketball, football, track and field, boxing. And guess what? Look at the numbers. They're the same as the black households in baseball. Like, I'm just saying, there's a lot of fatherless basketball. Like, how many NBA players you look at and they say, oh, I'm from a single mom household? A lot. Right. So I think it's deeper than just saying, oh, baseball's a pass me down father-son game. I played baseball all my life. You know how many times I played catch with my dad? 0. Baseball wasn't his thing. It just wasn't. But I had brothers, I had cousins, I had uncles. We played. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I definitely dig that. We got lots of comments. Jay, you want to roll through the comments? You want to keep on going with the questions, bro? How you feeling?
It's up to you. Do your thing.
All right. So just to look at a couple of other things, we got Ronald in the comment section. Shout out to Ronald. He says 1 in 10. Yeah, here we go.
That's 1 in 10 right.
To teach baseball.
Ronald, you about right?
And then somewhere down there you got 0.5
to teach golf.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you might be right on that. But hey, look, we coming. Look at all those golf teams. What is it? J.R. Smith is at A&M, and Steph Curry bought the Howard team. Look, they coming in golf. There's a lot of money in golf too. Don't get it tripping.
And shout out to the HBUs who are starting to bring back HBCUs who are bringing back their baseball programs as well. I noticed a little bit of that being spoke about on Twitter when I started looking for it. Yeah, Jake, continue with the questions, bro. What do you think?
Yeah, back to I when you were talking about pretty much I guess like activism from outside influence, so to say. You don't have the guys like you don't have this. Come on, let's go. I don't care. You don't say like Marquise Grissom. He's always used as an example. And the thing is, I don't think we have enough guys like that. Of course, you have your former players who are definitely trying to teach the game. But what I've seen Marquise Grissom do in the Atlanta area is just nothing short of amazing. Like it was awesome. Seeing how active he is in the community with trying to get kids, involved in baseball. And the funny thing, I saw a guy who was on NBA and TNT, NBA TV when they had those little forums, and Kenny Smith was talking about how he didn't have any shoes, so like people in the neighborhood used to give him shoes and stuff. Mm-hmm. Everybody was like, "Damn, what kind of neighborhood you lived in? Like nobody gave me some Jordans or anything like that. It's like, yo, I'm trying to get, how did you, end up in the neighborhood like that where they,
Yeah, it's different now though, and I mean,
Yeah.
you're right about Coach Grisham. And what they call the Hill Boys is what they call them. Lawrence Butler trains there. Chandler Simpson trains there. Tink Hintz trains there. Marvin Freeman, Lenny Webster, Marquise Grissom, all of them OGs are in Atlanta with the Hill Boys doing a lot of training all the time, and it is something that is amazing, and that's why I would argue right now, and Atlanta is like the mecca of black baseball right now, honestly. Atlanta, if you look about who's coming out of the pros, Taj Bradley, Lawrence Butler, like I said, Chandler, all of those guys. That's Michael Harris is an Atlanta kid. Like all of those guys are Hill Boys, right? And so, I it is commendable what those brothers are doing, and they're not just doing it in Atlanta. The Players Alliance have actually used that group. I think it's like 4 of them, Grisham, and I think it's Eric Young and Marvin Freeman, and they go all across the country teaching coaches how to coach kids. They're doing some amazing things. It's an amazing program, and I do think culturally and societally we have changed a bit from the Kenny Smith days, and that's disappointing in the sense that we had communities that really could identify kids that needed help and to give them help, right?
Right.
There's still some of that, but it's not the same. But it's not the same not because it's not the same because the communities aren't the same, the neighborhoods aren't the same, the churches aren't the same. It's just not the same. Um, And so I'm lucky. I mean, I'm old enough where I grew up in the tail end of that that level of societal support, right? Like
Right.
people know this all the time. They know, like you've heard those stories as old as the tale of time, right? Athlete that they have identified kept him out of trouble, kept him out of gangs, kept him out of drugs, and all the drug dealers in the world would say, "Yo, leave that kid alone. That kid gonna be somebody. He gonna go there. He gonna do this." The world is so different now that I think it's just less of that, and it's just less of that societally wise. And I can't really pinpoint what particularly happened or how it changed, but I think we've gone to a more individualistic society. Like
Definitely.
individually, we want to do more as individuals. We don't want to be lumped in with a group. We don't want to be lumped in with a neighborhood. We don't want to be lumped in with like these kind of cultural standards and norms. And I I get it. It makes life, I think, a lot harder. I think if we had to do some of the things in 2024, if we had to do some of the things that they had to do in 1954 or 1964, it would never happen today because nobody wants to be lumped into a collective group, right?
Right.
There's always one. I joke around about this, and this might be going a little bit too far off your question, but everybody often was so shocked about Kanye, right? About Kanye West and yay this and yay that. They were so shocked about some of that stuff. And I looked at that as like I looked at a lot of the things that he did and does today, and it's like, yo, this is kind of the perfect sign of the times. Because again, there was always, I'm sure, like you look back through civil rights, there's always a brother that was like, nah, Dr. King, we want to go this way. But there was enough of the people that was like, that don't make no sense, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
person never got the loudest microphone. Now everybody's looking for the loudest microphone. Everybody's looking for their Kanye moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if everybody says, like, again, I don't want to get too far off, but if everybody says, it's sunny outside, they're going to be 2 or 3 people that's like, nah, it's raining. Everybody knows it's sunny. But what happens now is that they give the microphone to the idiot that says it's raining, and we got to like pay attention to him. So it's just a different society. Like now there'll be idiots that'll be like, why would we want to give Kenny Smith shoes? Everybody needs, you know what I mean? You're just like, nah, bro. Like it's just a different level of society. And we're seeing that play out, not just in sports. We're seeing that play out in all walks of life. Like all walks of life. And it's just it's difficult. It's difficult to deal with some of that.
So, just like you said back in 1950, back in the Negro League days, following that 2020 announcement that it pretty much was going to integrate, the 7 different Negro Leagues, from 1920 to 1948.
Oh, you mean the stats this year?
Yeah, the
The
stats.
stat
Yeah,
number. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think? I guess out of all of the records, all of the stats, which stat do you think uh stands tallest? I would say it's important for the whole history of our, of the league, to be put into, Major League Baseball. Period. It's a high importance.
Sure.
But what I would at Gibson's average, certain things that what stands out to you?
I think the Gibson numbers is going to stand out because they're the most glaring. They're the ones that Gibson changed the record books in a way that, people will never like. Gibson changed the record book so much with the stat integration that a lot of people are not going to accept it, honestly. So that's how much Gibson changed the record books, right? So in my mind, Gibson's numbers are going to stand out. I think that it is still going to be hard for a lot of people, mostly white people, but not just white people, to accept the stats as constructed. Was it the right thing to do? It was absolutely the right thing to do. Was Josh Gibson and all those guys that played in the Negro Leagues worthy of those stats? Absolutely. Had they done it before, the more you learn about it, you realize they integrated a whole bunch of other leagues that weren't Major League Baseball into the Major League database years ago. They intentionally left the Negro Leagues out because they didn't want that fight at the time. But they did a whole bunch of minor league stuff and short records and put them all in. They should have done the Negro Leagues back then. They never did. So there's precedent for it. Josh Gibson and those numbers are the ones that stand out the most. The people that will argue that, Josh Gibson never had to face white pitchers. You can say the same thing. Babe Ruth never had to face Satchel Paige in a game that mattered. Never had those stats, right? They never had to face Negro League pitchers, which we know were as good as white pitchers, right? So I do think that it's going to be hard for people to fully accept it, but the stat stuff got so kind of challenged during the steroid era that it's like baseball stats are really difficult to really put into context, proper context, because really now it's going to be, the context is going to be based off who you like. If you like Barry Bonds, he's the home run king. If you like Hank Aaron, he's the home run king. If you like, Willie May, if you like Babe Ruth, there are white people that never, still to this day, well, Hank Aaron played more games than Babe Ruth, so blah, 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 blah. It really is going to be, those stats are going to be who you like. But, I think that it was the right thing to do. I think Major League Baseball did a good job with it. I think Bob Kendrick said it best, because it was the right thing to do, but it wasn't validation for those players, because those players knew how good they were. They didn't need validation. They knew they were as good as the white players, better. And in many instances, they would play them in the summer and beat the bricks off of them. But it was the right thing to do. They did it. A lot of commissioners didn't do it. Mansfield, the current commissioner, did it. I think Mansfield's going to go down in history as one of the more progressive commissioners in all of baseball. He's going to go down, not as much as David Stern, but he's going to, when it's all said and done, Rob Mansfield's going to be looked at as probably one of the most progressive commissioners baseball history.
Right. He, as much as he's probably, I would say, hated by many,
It's cool. It's cool to hate commissioners now. That Roger Goodell gets booed, and Adam Silver's now getting booed, and so it's cool to hate commissioners. But Mansford's a little bit more like, if you go through history, Mansfield's a little bit like LBJ. And what I mean by that is, I'm not actually, that might be unfair to Mansford because I don't think Mansford's a known racist. LBJ was a known racist, and he signed the Civil Rights Act. Seriously,
Right.
he was a known racist from Texas, and he signed the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, kicking and screaming, but he did it. So LBJ kind of comes in after Kennedy and looks like this really progressive guy, and he was probably, he was probably his good old boy like the rest of them. But history is history.
So anytime a commissioner, I would say, makes a lot of changes, has a lot of progression, he's gonna get a lot of pushback. And just like you said, with everything that he's done, a lot of people have so many beefs about other small things that that don't really matter in baseball, like pitch count, for instance, and just certain things that came about during his tenure.
I love all that stuff. All this
Me
speeding up the
too.
game, I love. Yeah, I think it's great.
Me too.
Look, we had. I told you earlier, I'm a Knicks fan, and we had the Knicks. Matter of fact, I think it was the Orioles Yankees were playing the same time the Knicks playoff games were playing. The Orioles every night that the NBA playoffs started at the same time as baseball, guess what finished first? The baseball game finished first by like an hour.
So that says a lot right there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I love it. I love the pitch count. I like the fact that I just hated when they was breaking it in and you had somebody trying to call time. As I saw the other night, somebody was calling time with 1 second left. The dude was like, "Nah, man, go, be out, push them out." So that's pretty cool to see that it's progressing and it's pretty much umps on their heel. Like, look, time's out. Don't matter what you try to call for. Game got to go on, and I'm loving that.
Yeah, Ronald Acuna had like 70 stolen bases last year. Like you don't get that without the new rules.
Right. I was a big Ricky fan. I was a huge
Ricky would have stole 172 bases. Ricky would have stole 175 bases. Under these rules, you can only throw over twice.
No.
Ricky would have stole. Ricky had 130 in the league he was playing in. He would have at least 150, 160.
Right. So I'm gonna ask this question. Since we talked about, I guess, Negro League, we talked about the stats, things like that. If you were to just baseball in general, who would be your Mount Rushmore?
Oh, man, Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds, King Griffey Jr., Willie Mays. How many I get? One more?
Mm-hmm.
It's so tough, but I'm going to go with Hank Aaron over Jackie. I'm going to go Hank Aaron, Mays, Barry Bonds Jr.
All right.
It's hard. Again, because think about who you're leaving off that list, right? You're leaving Jackie off that list. You're leaving you're leaving Ricky off that list. So you're leaving Jackie off. You're leaving Ricky off. You're leaving Bob Gibson off, right? Satchel Paige is left off. But I'm just going by, like, I've never seen anything like prime Barry Bonds. Like San Francisco Giants, 70 whatever home runs in a season. They were intentionally walking Barry Bonds with the bases loaded. Like, they were like, we're going to give up one run so we don't give up four. And, like, I've never seen anything like that. Barry Bonds, I've never seen Griffey was my favorite player growing up. Like, everybody wants to wear their hat backwards and do the swing and catch on the wall. Mays I never saw, but you could only imagine. And Hank Aaron is low key. Like, I don't know if there's an other sport equivalent to a Hank Aaron, who was the all-time home run leader, one of the greatest players to ever play, and was just maybe Tim Duncan. Would Tim Duncan be a Hank Aaron? Like, I mean, because again, like, no, I mean, zero flash, zero. Like, I mean, he just bought his lunch pail every day won championships, hit home runs, and was like one of the best hitters of like ever. But you never heard of him in the same vein as Willie. You never heard of him in the same vein as Griffey and so forth. You know, yeah, those would be my guys.
Yeah, also Hank Aaron, which I was, definitely an impressive career, but I was so impressed with, it's like we talked about earlier, like how much he put back into the game after he was done, and into the franchise, and how much he stayed around. And he was like I forgot which position he held.
With the Braves, a lot.
Yeah,
I think a lot of them do that. They don't get enough credit for the guys that do it. I think a lot of them do it, especially those guys in that era. Obviously more and more of them have passed on now, and there's a new wave of folks that are doing it now. I mentioned earlier the Players Alliance. Players Alliance has a ton of players that could give back to the game, current, former players, and but those guys were special. Like those guys were really special contributors to baseball, and it's tough to see them go now and at the level that we've seen. Obviously Hank Aaron passed 2 years ago. Willie Mays just passed recently, so it's tough. But yeah, I think a lot of them give back to the game. And you're starting to see more of them do it. You're starting to see a lot of guys give back.
No, I definitely agree with Camden Yards. I used to, I'm originally from New York, and I would say my mom probably drove me down south, probably more than a truck driver. Like I was always up and down 95, and like every time
you and Biggie,
but every time we're going through Baltimore, I'm like, I'm trying to peek.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, it's like I never seen a stadium other than Shea Stadium in my life.
Oh wow. Okay.
I grew up in New York around, Darryl, Dr. K days, Dwight Gooden, like those were, that's all I knew about, as far as baseball. And I don't tell everybody, but Mookie Wilson is my cousin. It just, I ain't gonna say it was lucky, but ball goes between somebody's legs for the World Series. It's pretty, it's pretty lucky. But hey, it is what it is.
Team, we were just talking about the Braves in the '90s. That '86 Mets team had culture, all of black culture in a chokehold. Doc, Darryl, Mookie, like Ray Knight at third base. They had culture in a chokehold. Everybody looked at that '86 Mets team. Like, so it's awesome. Oh no.
You don't take a flight with him.
Nah, that 30 for 30 scares me today. I can't show my son that 30 for 30.
Woo!
That was that was again. I don't know if we'll ever get back. I don't know if we'll ever get back to that time where there was just so many black players we could root for on one team. Like we get excited now, and if there's more than one, but yeah, they had when it works, you have some folks. Like I said, culture gets put in a chokehold, right? So it's exciting.
Shout out to Jeremiah. I saw his last quote about Ricky Henderson talking in third person. I was gonna mention that. Like that dude was something else, man. He, I love to see that in sport. I love Ricky Henderson. Just when he talked, I never heard, I was still young, so I didn't pay attention to the media part of it really. But when he actually did the little speech, he's like, "Today I'm the greatest of all time." Just the way he said it, it was just like this dude is feeling himself.
Yeah,
but it was.
That's what he said. Greatest of all time. Today I consider myself the greatest of all time.
And it was great, man. It was just it was great to watch. But we was talking about hip hop. Take over the little hip hop. Top 5 albums.
Ooh, impossible to talk about a top 5 albums of all time.
Your top 5 now. Like my top 5
albums is dead. Like I could even been better if you gave me top 5 artists, but albums is really, really difficult. 36 Chambers, Blueprint is probably Jay's best album, but Jay has a lot of best albums. Tribe. Because you're getting to a point then where you're like, all right, what Tribe album? Is it Midnight or is it? That's tough. Albums are tough. I wouldn't even. It's gonna be hard for me to even check my phone. Nas is joint.
I was waiting on that one. I saw where you was going.
I'm different because I like It Was Written better than I like Illmatic.
There you go. I'm with that too.
I think Nas was better. I think Nas was better and It Was Written than he was in Illmatic. Like, that's the thing. That's why I think Blueprint's better than Reasonable Doubt. And I think because again, I understand why Jay or Nas will say their debut albums are the best albums, but they got better. They're better artists. They're better MCs than they are now. I think Life After Death is better than Ready to Die. The double big album, right before he passed, they got better. They were like, so. But I like is it Moment of Truth, Gangstar?
Ooh.
It's a phenomenal album. Put that on from front to back.
Just listen to that.
Put that on front to back. There's no skips. There's no skips. It's tough. And that's not even really bringing us into modern times, right? I like, for what he's worth now, and you can say what about the latest stuff, but College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, when College Dropout dropped, it was different. Like, those are no skips. Dark Twisted Fantasy, no skips. Oof. All right, I don't know.
You're taking us there right now. I just want you.
I'm just saying.
We're going on a journey.
Little brother, the listening. Again, it's very hard. It's very hard to choose album. Album is very hard.
Hey, I got a question. I got a question from the comment section. I like this one. It's baseball related and hip hop technically.
Yeah.
Jeremiah says, "What's y'all walk up song?" So, what's your walk up song, Cheats?
A clean version of Pop That. A clean version of Pop That.
The Rick Ross Pop That?
Yeah, Ross, Drake, Wayne.
What?
With the 2 Live Crew sample. Yeah, clean version of Pop That will probably be like, or Hypnotize. Clean version of Hypnotize. Triumph. Probably a clean version of Triumph. There's so many, but my first one would be what's the Dipset joint on the
Anthem?
double no, not Anthem, but the double joint, probably the I Really Mean It joint.
I Really Mean It?
Oh yeah. I like
anything that it was the Heatmakers. They did a bunch of stuff for Dipset. They did a bunch of stuff for Fred the Godson, like that type of stuff. And as far as walk-up song, you gotta keep people hit them where it hurts. Right. Hypnotize. You can play Hypnotize right now in a club, and people still gonna go crazy.
People will bop up.
So I'm gonna go with one of those uplifting joints.
Funny
Jay,
story.
What about
you? My walk-up song?
Yeah, man. What about you?
You know what? It's crazy because, now I hear them so much now, watching the game and especially Braves games, some guys have some real catchy songs. Like I honestly, for some reason, I tend to like the Spanish songs a lot better. Like when they come up, it's like,
they got juice, man. They got juice.
like
got
you
you.
know, it's a different vibe. Like it kind of gets you up. But okay, so I guess I'll say I never thought about what my walk up song would be because I listen to so many others. I would say I'm gonna say this, and I'm just gonna start with this, and probably uh Thief's theme. Nas. That'll probably be my walk up song. I've always been a crossover guy as far as a crossover guy as far as like rock when producers pretty much get that rock sound going into like new age hip hop. That was one of a song that I really liked because I was always into certain rock songs and you know that definitely man, hey, I can't
So
think of when it.
CC Sabathia tells a story
Uh-huh.
about Derek Jeter in the old Yankee Stadium. CC Sabathia tells a story about Derek Jeter would come out to 50 cents I Get Money. He said whatever it was, the speakers in the old Yankee Stadium, not the new Yankee Stadium, but the speaker system in the old Yankee Stadium put bass through like the whole building. And he said it didn't matter. He said it didn't matter. He said when Jeter would come up and the crowd was up and I Get Money would come on, he was like, I already gave up a hit. I didn't even know. And look, this is before when CC was pitching for Cleveland. He was like,
Right.
I didn't even know Jeter. I just knew he was gonna do something special because that sound went crazy. So I was there. There's so many. There's so many good songs.
Yeah, yeah. Whit, you got something else, man, before we wrap it up?
Um, I had maybe one question I would have threw out there, right? Because of course we're talking about Negro leagues and all that good stuff, right? So in my mind recently, like it's stuck in my head, and I think I mentioned it to Jay, right? So did about 2 weeks ago, like Reggie Jackson on MLB on Fox, right?
Yeah. I watched
Him
live.
Oh
they gave him a
Yeah.
minute. They gave him
Yeah.
like 5 uncut
Yeah.
minutes
Nah,
that they
Reggie got
probably would never
Reggie
give
got off.
anybody else.
Yeah, Reggie got off.
Like how like and to give that type of perspective of African American player at that time, how he felt thinking about Willie Mays. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
was that like something that America needed to hear? You know what I'm saying? Because that was very important.
I mean, the world need to hear it. I think everybody like I was laugh. I will say this: I often find comedy, like inappropriate comedy, and things that aren't funny. Right? Reggie got off, and I remember I was watching the game with my friend, who I said was a big Yankee fan, and I remember laughing, texting him, being like, "They ain't never gonna give nobody a live mic ever again." Like I was just, but it was again. There are some things for us because we're in on it, right? If we're in on the situation, we could actually find more humor and comedy in the situation. I wasn't surprised that Reggie did what he did. Everybody got an uncle. Everybody got a dad. Everybody got a brother. Everybody got a granddad. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little surprised that white people ran with it so much. Because again, I think black people listen to Reggie, listen to his words, take it all in, listen to his heart, and actually don't find a lot new, right, in what Reggie said in that minute and a half. That minute and a half wasn't for us. That minute and a half was for white people that didn't know that Birmingham in 1960 was full of racists. Like, we know that. I told you, I'm from Virginia. My grandmother is 94 years old. You know what I'm saying? I know that. We've been getting those lessons since we were born. Right. About like what Birmingham was like, what the South was like, what Mississippi was like. I just happened to take a personal interest in civil rights at a later age, like college, high school, and so forth. So I did a lot of that studying. So I know about freedom rides and I know about all of that stuff, right? Because we learned about it. We intentionally. Now it wasn't taught to us. We were intentionally took an interest in.
Right.
So when you ask Reggie Jackson
Right.
about Birmingham in the 60s. I'm not surprised at his answer. I'm a little bit shocked because again, if there's something you know all your life and you just hear it again and you hear it from an older black man, you know what's what, you know right from wrong, you know what's what, you know how life was back then. So I'm watching it almost like laughing, like, yo, they ain't never gonna let Reggie talk again. And then the funny part is white people get, up and you know what I mean? They get the breath, they start clutching their pearls, and they're like, "Did you hear what Reggie said? It was so, what's the movie that just came out with Jeffrey Wright and Issa Rae and all them?
With the book.
Right, yeah, with the book, American Fiction.
Dang, what is the name of that?
American Fiction.
Yeah, that was a good book.
It was a great movie.
Great movie.
But the if you look at the underlining plots of this movie, and again, not to diminish, I'm not diminishing anything Reggie said because Reggie spit facts.
Right.
But it was facts that I think a lot of black people knew that a lot of white people had to respond to. You know what I mean? They had to have their moment. Right? And that was what we saw. A lot of that aftermath was their moment of them taking in what Reggie was saying. I brought up American Fiction because again, the plot of that thing was, let me write the most obnoxious shit I could write, right? The most obnoxious racist stuff. And white people are like, oh, it's so real. It's so raw. It's, you know what I mean? And it was like he won all the awards. And he's looking at it like, you're watching the movie and I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but when he changed the name of the book, to something absurd. Like
absurd.
Yeah. And white people are like, I love it. Let's go. It's genius.
I love it.
And so I feel like to kind of put a button to a lot of it, I feel like we do a lot of that today. Like we do a lot of that in society today. And then we got to deal with the consequences of doing that. Like, so we don't really make the issue, but we have to deal with how, other folks deal with that issue. You know what I'm saying? And we bring it back to hip hop. Let's just bring it back to hip hop really quick. I understand like that wave. Remember that wave we had where everything was Chicago drill, right? Remember that? And remember,
right?
Chief Keef.
We didn't make Chief Keef. Like we didn't make like Chief Keef is who he was. I'm not saying whatever. Get off, do you? But Chief Keef didn't become a multi-millionaire household name because of us. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like it was just one of those things where it's just what it is. It is what it is in that sense. And it was like there's a lot of reaction or overreaction to certain things where I think we just go on about our day and be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like that's that. Like that, like that's just kind of normal life. And maybe it's a part of being black. Like maybe we shouldn't be used to some of this stuff, right? Maybe we shouldn't have accepted it as much as we've accepted it. But we, the way that the world works, we just kind of know these things. And we knew that 1960 Birmingham minor league baseball, right? Minor league baseball won't a place where Reggie was going to be welcome. And Bull Connors, Birmingham. So they asked him about it, and Reggie was like, "It sucked."
Right.
And then white people was like, "What? There was racism in this establishment." So that's how I felt about it.
I thought he was gonna say worse. I was just cringing when he was talking. I was listening. I was like, "Wow," But I was like, "Man, you know how Reggie gets." I thought Reggie. He said something at the end that classic Reggie. Like he could have killed. Luckily he got out of the situation. But
the best part of it is Reggie said the N-word like 3 times, and then at the end said the N-word. Like, remember, Reggie actually said the word
like one time.
He said the word like 3-4 times, and then at the end he was like, "Yeah," and then the N-word. I was like, "Well, why don't you say the N-word now, Reggie?" You said the word like 4 times on there. I loved it though, and if anybody could deliver that message, Reggie Jackson could deliver that message. And it was the right person to deliver that message at that time. And a lot of things, if you go back and watch the Reggie doc, there was a lot of things that they did to Reggie that was dirty. Just not just during his playing days, after his playing days. Reggie should be a team owner right now. There's a lot of things that happened that baseball, did Reggie dirty. And Reggie, to his credit, keeps coming back, keeps being a part. I saw Reggie in Houston at the Cactus Shack HBCU Invitational. You see him in Birmingham. You'll probably be around the All-Star game. That Reggie don't have. If anybody could take their bats and go home, it could be Reggie.
Yeah, Jeremiah doesn't think Reggie's going to be around the All-Star game.
You never know, man. In Texas, Reggie lives in I think he lives in California, but he's a lot of time in Houston. I think he's a special assistant to the Houston Astros. Reggie probably be out there. But I got some Reggie bars.
Man, listen. All right. This is a conspiracy question. Last one.
Okay, last one.
We talked about the integration of the records. You guys brought up several things that I think are great. And I'm looking and I forgot. Oh, yeah. All right. So bam, right? Somebody once wrote that Babe Ruth could possibly have been a white passing black man. Is that somewhere in this vein of conversation? Like,
we talk
Babe Ruth. Like he has no color. He's just Babe Ruth.
We talk about it's come up more and more now because there's better pictures, better images.
Ty Cobb. There it goes. I was looking for it the whole time. Couldn't find it. Ty Cobb in his book in several different places that he didn't want to share rooms with him. This and that. His features where Babe Ruth liked to stand out after and before the game. And
Babe Ruth was in the hood at the time. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know.
Because in life, I know the real reason why I say this. Yeah. Because in life, there are some people that, to a degree, just like Abraham Lincoln, although he freed the slaves, is a colorless person in history. He's just a person. Babe Ruth, a person. You know what I'm saying? Dan Marino, a person. The colors go out.
Dan Marino, white man. Nobody said Dan Marino is.
Yeah, and to be honest, to be honest, the whole thing was like, I think I mentioned it to Jay. In sports, like everybody has every other sport has like a championed African American. Like everybody knew about Bill Russell going through some things as a Celtic. And having colorful words put on his house and defecation in his bed. Sure. Everybody knew about Jim Brown and his hardships as a Cleveland Brown running back. So are we being championed by Babe Ruth unknowingly?
No, we got Jackie.
We got Jackie, Brett. We got Jackie way before that. Okay, I got you. We got Jackie.
We got Jack. Like, if you're looking at the person that had to go through things, right? We got Jackie, we got Larry Doby, we got those guys. So we don't need Babe Ruth in that sense.
There you go.
The answer your question though is I don't know. Because I've seen some pictures. And you heard some stories about where Babe Ruth liked to hang out.
Yes.
And you're like
Babe Ruth.
Yeah, you might be like, hold on, Babe. Babe might be on to something. Babe was always leading those delegations. You know how they had the barnstorming integrated games in the summer and all that? Babe was always there. Babe was playing Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige. Babe was playing in those games. So I don't know. Again, racism was so different too back then because white people was racist against everybody. They were racist against Italians, racist against Irish, racist against Catholic. Like there's a lot of racism. Like today's modern racism, like white, black, Latino, it was different back then. They had to carve up white people into racist sections back then.
So much.
So I don't know though. That's a good question. My wife would probably say Babe Ruth is black, but we'll see. He was by far the best player of his time, so maybe.
I listen, and first of all, That was a curveball. I'm glad you still swung at it, bro. I appreciate the fact of everybody, getting a laugh from him, because in real life, whether he was black, he was white, he was one of the best players ever pick up a bat. And you just like you said, more recently for me, as I tend to look at things, Jay will tell you I'm the research, look at the internet, Google book guy. Like, they got a lot of pictures of him hanging out in the cut,
Yeah, no, Babe was in the cut for real. Babe was in the cut. You know what? They're like, I do laugh. There's one thing that I do laugh about when we talk about modern baseball versus then. There's no comparison between Babe Ruth and Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani is leaps and bounds better than Babe Ruth ever was. Like, Shohei Ohtani's talent is so far off the charts. They will do a lot of, Shohei's the first player since Babe Ruth. Shohei Ohtani will eat Babe Ruth's lunch. Like,
I think I heard you say something.
Yeah,
you posted something about that.
Yeah, it's not even close. The other thing I will say too, before I know we got to get out of here. I appreciate both of y'all in the time, but Jay had actually brought up the money, and I do want to talk. I do want to let people know about the baseball money. The baseball money is different. Baseball money is different, and I'm not just talking about Shohei's $700 million. That's non-baseball. But like Aaron Judge and those guys, they're getting $350 million. You know what I'm saying? They don't got to run into no walls. They ain't got to worry about CTE. They ain't got to worry about all the things that a lot of these other sports got to deal with, right? I mean, it's baseball money. It's longer to get. It's harder to get. You got to go through the minors. You might go to the minors 3 or 4 years. You ain't making no money. But if you get a league minimum Major League Baseball contract, a veteran like league minimum contract, there's way more money and longevity. You can play baseball. Average NFL contract was still today. The average NFL contract is what, 3.5 years, like the average longevity of a veteran NFL player. You might be out of league in 4 years, 3 or 4 years.
For sure.
Basketball is so upside down right now. We just had the draft this week, last week, right? Get this. We just had the NBA draft last week. NBA draft is only 2 rounds. 50% of those players won't even make a team. Maybe 60%, 65% of the people drafted will not make the roster when basketball season comes around, like opening day comes around. That's how far we have fallen in basketball draft talent, right? Literally, they're drafting, lottery picks to stash overseas. It's unheard of. So yeah, baseball money is different level of money.
Man, baseball money is different, but the Rec Room show is forever. All right, man. Check this out, Chiefs, man. First of all, let me say thank you for bringing us up to speed on everything baseball, black baseball, white, just baseball in general, bro. Do us a favor, tell us the people, everybody watching, your socials and where we can find you at, so we can get some more of this baseball knowledge from you, bro.
Yeah, no, man. Appreciate y'all. I really I try to accept as many show invitations as possible, not because I like to hear myself talk, I do, but I also remember how it was like when I was asking people to come on our show. Like, I do. And it is not easy. Booking is probably one of the hardest things you're going to do, period. So I definitely appreciate y'all inviting me on, and I'm glad we can make this happen. It is Black Baseball Mixtape, all one word, on Instagram. B Ball Mixtape on X, Twitter, and there's a couple of things that we do that's different. You can subscribe to our podcast anywhere podcasts are available, Black Baseball Mixtape. And if you want to talk baseball all day, every day, black baseball, anything that's going on in the game, we host a free group chat on Discord. It's absolutely free. Just message me, say I want to join the Discord. I'll send you the link. We've got black baseball fans in there, like the old message boards days of those wonderful blog era hip hop type situations. where you were literally posting articles, talking baseball, going back and forth, talking trash. They do that every day in the group chat. And so I wanted to bring that Nike talk type, old Nike talk feeling back to baseball. So we got a lot of people going in the group chat. And yeah, man, appreciate y'all.
Bro,
Appreciate you.
We appreciate you. Hey, Jay, man, did I tell you thank you for bringing this guy on, bro? This is an excellent way to come back and do Rec Room after a long hiatus. When we got time off, we want to come back strong like this, okay? But of course, AJ, man, tell people what you got going on this week, bro.
Man, what do we have going on this week? Are we doing In the Hoop this week?
We gonna do In the Hoop this week, bro.
Well, here I am. In the Hoop. In the Hoop, here I am. Shout out to Tanner, man. Shout out to Tanner for everything that's gonna be, going on finish next week and so on. Definitely excited about it. But yeah, I'll be doing In the Hoop with you and whoever else is around. Probably Allen, talking about Oklahoma City.
Probably.
All that good stuff,
And,
But yeah, I appreciate everybody stopping through in the chats, man. Jeremiah, appreciate you. That was some great comments, especially to Ricky Henderson. That third person, that was something definitely I was gonna mention. Like that guy was something else.
Yeah, man, most definitely. Well, you know me, it's your boy K with your mama #1 draft pick. Shout out to Jeremiah. Shout out to Ronald in the chat. Shout out to Daniel, Highlight Sports. I think we had a great show, boys. And the crazy thing is, you know what? Jeez, we always hit a button because you know what?
I wish you had more time.
But it's time to go. So we're going to hit this button right here. Boy, let me tell you something. I'm going to be doing Head Kicks and Haymakers on Wednesday. So we got to talk some boxing. We got to talk some MMA. We got to talk basketball at the end of the week, folks. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the TheRecRoom Sports channel. I swear, I'm your boy K-Witt. That's Jay on the MIC. And that is Cheeks from Black Baseball Mixtape. I appreciate everybody, man. Make sure you tune in. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's be gone, boys. Woohoo!